Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sallam. So I'm going to bring on my colleagues right now. I see you, Anthony, in the chat with four. Thank you for coming. And we have with us our staff attorney as well as our director of Safe Spaces that is joining as part of this online presentation. I'm having problems with one of my staffers being on right now. In regards to the annual report for the Michigan chapter of CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, in regards to our findings of last year, and also some projections about what we believe to be the state of Muslim civil rights as we are into this year, into this new administration. Let me begin by saying that in 2023, as well as in 2024, these 2 years of civil rights cases at the Michigan chapter of CAIR, as well as in the national CAIR network, are the largest amount of cases that we have ever processed in our office, even higher than the year of 9/11 and the year after 9/11, in which there was a peak in discrimination cases against Muslims nationwide, as well as in the state of Michigan. What is different about 9/11 in regards to now is that the cases of discrimination that followed the tragedy of 9/11 were targeted at Muslims as a whole in relationship to that tragic act of violent extremism. And there was more of what we could say a referendum on Islam itself in regards to political rhetoric, as well as even rhetoric on right-wing media. What's different about 2023 moving into 2024 is that much of the discrimination that Muslims have faced nationwide, as well as in the state of Michigan, relates to free speech issues that are connected to Muslims raising their voices about war crimes and ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in Gaza by the Israeli military with the help and support of the United States government. So these are the different factors between 2001 and 2002 in comparison to 2023 and 2024. That's the main difference. Sister Amy, who's our staff attorney, will go into some of the specific numbers. But generally speaking, in the past year, besides our employment discrimination cases that we normally get, a large percentage of our cases have related to discrimination in educational institutions, especially institutions of higher learning, and its relationship to Palestinian activism. So let's give a few examples. For instance, so let's start back and look at for example, Michigan State Attorney Daniel Nessel took an unprecedented action in criminally charging 2 Muslim students at the University of Michigan who were peacefully protesting, even though the Washtenaw County prosecutor failed to bring charges against these 2 individuals. Shortly after this, or in the same time period, CAIR Michigan was compelled to file a complaint at the Department of Education in regards to a leaked audio from President Ono of the University of Michigan, in which he himself on tape or recording stated that the University of Michigan showed an unbalanced position in dealing with Islamophobia on campus in comparison to how the university addresses anti-Semitism. Following that, CAIR Michigan joined with the Sugar Law Center as well as the National Lawyers Guild in filing a complaint, not a complaint, a lawsuit against the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, in regards to targeting the free speech of Muslim students on campus, in particular as it relates to their activism around Palestine. So University of Michigan, Ann Arbor has been one of the biggest, we could say, negative actors in terms of free speech rights and discrimination against Muslims. That our national office put out a alert that basically states that the University of Michigan is an institution of concern of having a hostile environment for Muslims on campus. We've had similar complaints in regards to Wayne State University in terms of the administration and its police department. Moving forward, as we look into 2025, it appears to be that we're heading into a year in which the civil rights of Muslims are going to be challenged, and especially the immigrant population within the Muslim community. As the rhetoric of President Donald Trump is targeted towards towards immigrants in general, in which he tends to focus on who he calls illegals. We've seen just recently the case at Columbia University of a international student who's here legally, who's here not just simply on a student visa, but has a green card, that was picked up and detained for simply his activism around Palestine. We see that the Trump administration is targeting immigrants and seeking to undo birthright citizenship, which is basically has been the law of the land going back since when my ancestors, the people of African descent, who were enslaved and got their citizenship rights. This has been the law of the land and basically unchallenged. And President Trump is seeking to undo that. And we'll see how that goes in court. Moreover, during the upcoming year, it appears to be that CAIR Michigan will be busy as last year in trying to protect not only the religious rights, but the freedom of conscience of public school students, as well as students on public and private universities, to be able to express their religious convictions and also their free speech rights, especially as we look at issues that are going on currently in the Middle East and the Trump administration's policies in pertaining to that. With that, I'm going to mute myself and
Assalamu alaikum. Can I be heard?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Zaina Jadallah, and I'm the Director of Safe Spaces at CAIR Michigan. And the Department of Safe Spaces' mission is to proactively cultivate inclusive environments for Muslim Americans in the public and private sector by media, resources, advocacy, and representation. And an update about the work of the Safe Spaces Department mentioned in the report is that we really have empowered Michigan Muslim communities by advocating for their rights, fostering inclusivity, and amplifying Muslim voices across Michigan. As our department has managed 20 plus cases addressing discrimination in schools, workplaces, and correctional facilities. We have attended 44 meetings, for community meetings, including Know Your Rights workshops and student outreach sessions. We have reached over 50 plus high schools and 14 colleges, and they have received from us resources for inclusivity, religious accommodations, and much more. We have also met with school principals to advocate for reflection rooms and halal food accommodations and options, and develop alternative training programs beyond ADL-led sessions. Our department has also conducted 3 district-wide educator trainings on Muslim beliefs and practices to better understand how to accommodate Muslim students and their practices. We have also had an extensive media presence, including CBS Detroit and social media awareness campaigns on subjects including Know Your Rights when encountering ICE and CBP, and also voter protection materials. The Safe Spaces Department has also continued their work in the Michigan correctional facilities to ensure that Muslim incarcerees have their religious liberties protected. Last but not least, we have also cared about our community and youth empowerment as we hosted the Muslim Youth Leadership Symposium to develop young leaders in partnership with masajid and nonprofits. And those are the updates that I had for Safe Spaces Department, and we look forward to supporting our community in 2025. And thank you for listening, and Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and Anthony, I did mute myself too early, so when I was speaking, but Zaina knew exactly what to do in the queue. With that, I will pass the mic over to CAIR Michigan staff attorney, who will be giving the bulk of the results of the report. And then after Amy's part, we will take any questions and answers from or questions from media professionals or concerned community members who are watching on Facebook now or on YouTube.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Amy Doukoure. I'm the staff attorney here at CAIR Michigan. As Brother Dawud said, I'm going to go over some of the statistics from our report, kind of combine them and talk about how they stack up next to the national numbers, and then give a brief overview of some of the work that we did in the legal department this year. So in 2024, CAIR Michigan documented 382 civil rights complaints to our office. These were complaints that were verified as having some implication for either civil rights or anti-discrimination. We got a lot of more calls than that, but these are the ones that were documented as civil rights complaints. While this number is slightly down from 2023, it is an 81% increase in the number of intakes that we saw in 2022. So as Brother Dawud said, the 2023 and 2024 are banner years in complaints for civil rights to CAIR Michigan about the things that are affecting Muslims in schools, across campuses, in law enforcement, and in their jobs. This is the second consecutive year I can say that the highest number of complaints we received were related to education. So we're talking K through 12 schools, colleges, and universities. And this year we had 56 cases of discrimination happening on college campuses, which is 15% of our overall intakes. And this is directly related to the things that Brother Dawud was talking about. This is unwarranted crackdown on free speech, unwarranted crackdown on, anti-BDS movements, pro-Palestinian, anti-genocide movements, and really the overall suppression of student rights on campus. Some of the other major complaint categories that we've seen include employment discrimination. We had 53 cases of employment discrimination this year, which is 14% of our overall case intakes. And this is the third year in a row that employment discrimination intakes rank in the top 5 of the types of intakes that we're seeing. We also had an increase in law enforcement counters, up from 10% in 2023 to 13% in 2024. It was 48 cases of discriminatory law enforcement encounters. And the important thing to understand about these law enforcement encounters is that it aligns with what's happening on campuses, because many of these law enforcement encounters that we're seeing, we saw the removal of hijabs during protests. We saw the mass arrests of students at student encampments. So the bulk of these law enforcement encounters are happening by university police departments, where they're tasked with keeping the university and the campus safe for their students, but instead what they're doing is they're targeting and singling out students and individuals on campus who are Muslim, Arab, pro-Palestinian for disparate law enforcement treatments and discrimination and wrongful arrests. We also saw this year a sharp increase in First Amendment violations. This is the first year that we noted any significant percentage of our intakes related directly to a crackdown on people using their First Amendment rights. And First Amendment cases ranked in 8% or 32 cases of our overall intakes this year. And that's significant because these First Amendment violations are happening on college campuses, but also in public, and go hand in hand with the types of things that we've seen through employment discrimination, education discrimination, and are linked directly to disproportional law enforcement encounters. So how does this stack up with what we're seeing nationally? Our national chapter also released their National Civil Rights Report today. So how does Michigan rank or stack up with the national? What I can say is that both our national office and our office reported record-breaking civil rights complaints in 2024. This signals that not only in Michigan, but nationwide, there's a significant escalation in Islamophobia and discrimination that's impacting Muslims in their day-to-day lives. Our national office documented 8,658 complaints across the country from all of the CAIR chapters. And this is the highest number of complaints ever received since they've been in, taking complaints since 1996. The rise in discrimination is directly linked, as Brother Dawud said, to global events, especially the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which has fueled anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian bias across the country. In national office, they had the highest number of complaints were employment discrimination at 50.4%. We're right behind them at 13% with our employment. And how this shakes down is a lot of Muslim professionals were directly retaliated against for expressing their pro-Palestinian views through either termination or disciplinary proceedings. We had the highest number of education complaints amongst between us and the national office. They were behind us, just a few percentages, and ours were at 15. The other thing is law enforcement. CAIR National recognized that their law enforcement encounter complaints skyrocketed by 71.5% between 2023 and 2024. And this is in line with what we're seeing here in Michigan. Some of the other things that we've seen is FBI and CBP interactions with Muslims, again, at a higher rate than we've seen. I think we reported out in 2022 that watch lists, CBP, travel difficulties, and FBI interactions were no longer in the top 5 types of cases we were seeing. Unfortunately, with what's happening in Gaza, and especially with this new administration, we've seen CBP interactions with Muslims rise, especially electronic seizures at the border. And both our office and the national office have reported record-breaking numbers of First Amendment violations, and also rise in hate crimes. CAIR Michigan, for the first time, had hate crimes on our local report as a significant percentage of our overall cases. That's never happened. Every year we have a couple hate crimes, but in 2024, we had hate crimes against, frankly, our office. We had hate crimes against masajids, hate crimes against individuals, and at a record level as well. And this is also signaled within the national report. So what have we done about it? So what is our legal department? What did we do in 2024? We opened up over 70 cases and handled 70 cases for Muslims in Michigan alone. We filed 12 federal lawsuits to protect the rights of Muslims, including, as Brother Dawud said, cases against the University of Michigan for violating Muslims' rights for free speech. We filed several employment discrimination cases in Michigan, and we also filed hijab discrimination lawsuits against Kent County and Oakland counties, where Muslim women are still being forcibly removed of their hijab for booking photos that are then disseminated widely on the internet for public viewing. We filed last year during this time, actually, we filed and received a temporary restraining order against Jackson County Jail, who was not providing proper Ramadan accommodations for the Muslims they were being housed there, forcing them to abstain from eating suhoor and providing them iftar significantly late and not providing them enough food. And alhamdulillah, we were able to take that to court and get a judge to order that they follow the guidelines and then provide documentary proof that they were doing so, and return to court right after Ramadan to prove that they had done everything that they were supposed to do. We filed 18 cases involving law enforcement misconduct with the FBI and CBP. These are direct complaints with FBI offices, CBP offices regarding the treatment of Muslims that are encountering law enforcement for unnecessary and unwarranted invasions of their privacy at the airport, at home, and in the streets. We also prioritized legal education. We conducted Know Your Rights trainings for students, for employees, and for the community, including some Know Your Rights trainings that directly affected the right to protest on campuses at Michigan State, University of Michigan, and Wayne State University. We conducted Islamophobia and bullying workshops at the Islamic Center of East Lansing. And we did First Amendment trainings, both online and online and in person. And our legal department developed a toolkit for the protesters who were protesting in encampment. So they had something that they could rely on that was vetted and reliable as they were engaging in their activism on campus. One other thing that we did is CAIR Michigan in 2024 alone, we provided over 1,000 hours of free legal services at what would have cost nearly $500,000 had a private attorney provided that. So we provide all of our legal services free and no charge to anybody who comes into our office. If you come in and you have a discrimination issue, you've been terminated wrongfully from employment, you've been subjected to screening at the airport, you've been subjected to unfair discipline at your school, we provide all of those legal services for free. And in 2024, it was over 1,000 hours. And what that does is that ensures that everybody has access to justice for every person in Michigan's Muslim community. And as Sister Zainab was saying, CAIR Michigan played a critical role in the media, both locally, nationally, and internationally, by raising public awareness of the problems that Michigan Muslims are facing. We shaped discourse, raising awareness of civil rights violations in Michigan's Muslims. And one of the things some of the places that you could find CAIR Michigan staffers is the Detroit News, CBS Detroit, Michigan Radio, Al Jazeera, Fox 2 Detroit, WDET Detroit, along with many other places where we're providing that critical narrative of Muslims in Michigan. And some of the key media coverage that the legal department was engaged in this year was hijab discrimination cases, which was widely reported in the Detroit News and on Michigan Radio. Our federal complaint against the University of Michigan, which made it into Metro Times and Al Jazeera. Reports on FBI profiling and law enforcement overreach, which was on CBS Detroit and Fox 2. And our advocacy for student protesters, including Palestinian demonstrations at the University of Michigan. And what's the result of media engagement? It pressures institutions to reform their discriminatory policies and raise public awareness about Islamophobia. Some of the things that we're going to be working on this year is developing stronger anti-discrimination policies in schools and workplaces, expanding legal protections for students and employees and travelers. And we're going to hopefully increase our media outreach and advocacy to combat Islamophobic narratives. So those are kind of the highlights that we have from our 2024 Civil Rights Report, and showing how we stack up against national averages, and also highlighting some of the work that we've done here in Michigan, inshallah.
Thank you. Anthony asked us over at Channel 4 to Local 4 for us to all to pronounce our names and to spell them. So I will start first. And if there are any follow-up questions, you can go ahead and type those in and we'll take those. But I'm CAIR Michigan Executive Director, Dawud, D-A-W-U-D. Last name, Walid, W-A-L-I-D. Zaina? She's having some technical difficulties. Go ahead, Sister Amy. You're on mute. Amy.
I'm muted. It told me I was muted. It showed me. Thank you. Amy Doukoure, AMY, DOUKOURE, CAIR Michigan staff attorney.
Hello, and I'm the director of Safe Spaces, Zaina, ZAYNAH, last name Jadallah, JADALLAH.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and read out the question and then give an answer we have from Channel 4 in regards to comments on the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil, who is the Columbia University student who was held by the federal government. A federal judge has given him a temporary block on his deportation order. But the question is relating to Mahmoud Khalil. Do you think that it's a threat to First Amendment rights? Our organizational position is that the Trump administration targeting legal immigrants, people who are legal residents, based upon their political activism and not calling towards physical violence or overthrow of the American government is a direct threat to First Amendment rights. Though people who are not citizens don't have the same full constitutional rights as American citizens, for instance, green card holders can't exercise the Second Amendment and can't purchase firearms, nor can they vote. However, many, if not most, of the rights that American citizens have are extended to individuals who are legal permanent residents or people who have so-called green cards. So targeting people for what's considered unpopular speech to deport them because a current administration doesn't like that particular speech is a direct violation or threat to the First Amendment. And who's to say that the administration is not going to take further steps? We already know that the Trump administration is contemplating banning people from even coming into the country based upon views that they consider to be un-American, meaning against the political ideology of the MAGA movement, right? So we also could see not only an issue of people like Mohammed Khalil being detained for protected speech, but even people being banned from coming into the country or back into the country simply because maybe they criticize American support of ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, or maybe it could get to the point of some Putin-esque type things where people are being banned for simply criticizing the Trump administration. So we have real concerns that the First Amendment is under threat under the watch of the 47th president of these United States of America. And whether people voted for him or not, I think all Americans should be concerned about the First Amendment, including those Americans, including Michigan Muslims who voted for Trump. They should be highly concerned about where we're going right now as a country. Okay, another question. And we'll leave this to Sister Amy. Also, what's the status of the U of M lawsuit mentioned?
That's a great question. So the University of Michigan lawsuit was filed at the end of 2024, and it was served on all of the defendants. It involves all of the regents of University of Michigan, as well as several of the contracting agencies that they work through for quote unquote investigative services. We are waiting for them to file a response, which is anticipated, I think, at the very beginning of April. They'll be filing their answer or their response to our lawsuit, and then we'll be moving forward with full-blown litigation at that point.
Thank you. We'll pause. If there's, we'll wait for any more questions, and then if not, we shall conclude. And as those who are watching or will watch in this entirety, please remember that the Michigan chapter of CAIR does not receive any government funding, including USAID funding that was cut from some community organizations. We don't receive any funding from any foreign governments, nor do we receive any grant funding from any foundations. We are solely funded by the grassroots of the Michigan Muslim community. And in this month of Ramadan, the most blessed month of giving charity, we strongly urge our constituents to increase their support for the Michigan chapter of CAIR, as our workload, as you have seen in the last 2 years, has risen exponentially. Okay, let's see here. We have a couple more questions. What are you hearing from the Muslim community? Well, I'll just tell you this, that almost every night for the past 2 weeks, I have been at night prayers in various mosques throughout southeastern Michigan. And what I can tell you right now is that many people in the American Muslim community, and Michigan Muslims in particular, are concerned about the state of rights for immigrants. In particular, we have a large amount of people in our community who are first, second, or third generation Yemeni Americans. People are concerned about American foreign policy towards Yemen, but also will Yemeni Americans be under any potential federal prosecution for simply giving aid to their loved ones and their family members back in Yemen. So this is a major concern of our community. Also a concern from the community was that AI-generated Gaza resort video that Mr. Trump put on social media. We have a significant amount of Palestinian Americans in our community, as well as Muslims from various ethnic groups who are deeply tied to the cause of Palestinians. Our director of Safe Spaces, who's on right now, Sister Zaina, is a Palestinian American, and we are our community is quite concerned in terms of what Mr. Trump floated about, basically calling for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians to their land to make it like the Riviera, I believe is what he said, right? To turn it into resort areas and time sharing and casinos and things of that nature. That's something that is of great concern to our community. The other question is there or are there any buyer's remorse for voters who did support Trump? From what I hear in the community, most of the people who did not vote for Vice President Kamala Harris do not have any regrets because it was a position based upon principle. And even most Muslims in Michigan who voted for Mr. Trump aren't what we would call MAGA supporters. They voted for Mr. Trump as a protest vote against Vice President Kamala Harris to basically signal the Democratic Party that the votes of Michigan Muslims weren't going to be for free or without consequence. Obviously there are some Muslims in our community who probably regret voting for Mr. Trump, who voted for him, but I have not heard that type of rhetoric. And then even last night, when I was in a mosque that was predominantly Yemeni American, they actually were happy that Mayor Amr Ghalib, the mayor of Hamtramck, was actually nominated to be the ambassador to Kuwait. And they said, well, at least Mr. Trump kept a promise, unlike Mr. Biden, who they felt, broke basically every promise he made to the Muslim community. So that's what I've been hearing, but that's just a synopsis and my anecdotal observations. That is nothing scientific, meaning CAIR Michigan has not put out a poll to Trump voters to say, if they have any, what is called buyer's remorse for voting for Mr. Trump. we have any other questions or comments, we'll give it about 30 seconds. If not, we will conclude with this session. We thank you all for coming, and for the Muslims who are watching this now live or watch it later on in its entirety before the end of the month of Ramadan. We at CAIR Michigan wish you a blessed Ramadan Mubarak, and we ask Almighty God, Allah, to protect you and to protect all of your loved ones, and to give you happiness in this life and to give you happiness in the hereafter. And with that, we shall conclude, and you all have a nice day.